The worst of it is the next 3 years because Saturn and Neptune together bring the hardships of war. This is the final chapter between the Iran, Israel, America story. Venus with Saturn, Venus with Neptune for the first time in a lifetime. This vibrational shift that you're going through this week ahead and shaking off the dust of, Venus conjunct Saturn. And with Neptune and Saturn, you also get crusades and holy wars and those kinds of wars that you look back historically and say, oh, were they nuts? Like, were they going to war for religious reasons? Really? Aren't we past that? No, we're not past that because we're in it again. What happens when Venus, the goddess of love, money, and pleasure, moves through the sign of Aries, co-present with Neptune and co-present with Saturn in a way we haven't seen in our lifetimes? We're going to find that this time frame, roughly March the 6th to the 30th, brings us into contact with new definitions in each of our lives, sober-minded and realistic, but also visionary and imaginal of what is possible in our lives, what is really tangibly possible around where we want to experience enjoyment, pleasure, and love, and also material prosperity. So in today's video for the week ahead, we're going to cover that story, although it goes longer than the week ahead. And hopefully in my thumbnail, I'll be showing you it rolls all the way out till March the 30th. Let's get started and let's get talking about Venus, first in a lifetime, traveling where Neptune and Saturn are squatting in the sign of Aries. The big news for the week of March the 9th to the 14th is Venus. Venus is in Aries, and that's a story that's going to run to the end of the month of March. Normally, I don't just focus on a simple delineation about Venus in a particular sign, but this week I'm going to do that because most of the action in our sky this week ahead is already in the rear view mirror. In fact, as you come into Monday, the 9th of March, you're probably having a bit of an energy intensity, if not an energy hangover, from things that began to develop Friday through Sunday. There was a Mercury Kazemi. Oh my God, how intense. But on top of that, we had Venus conjunct Saturn, which could have given you some roadblocks or hardship or definitive hard stops when it comes to matters of love and money, or some clarity about your love and money stories. That is behind you as we move into Monday, Tuesday, just a little bit of a leftover vibe still playing out. And then really what I want to talk about is Venus. She's going to be in the sign of Aries until March the 30th. And it's a kind of energetic change from what you're used to, because with her here in the sign of Aries, she's joined, of course, with Neptune and Saturn, who've been here now full on permanently since mid-February together. So this is giving Venus a kind of first in a lifetime flavor. And I want to just delineate that for you and for the world and what that might feel like and look like. So we're going to go through this vibrational shift that you're going through this week ahead and shaking off the dust of Venus conjunct Saturn in Aries, which would have been playing out Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. All right, you're still feeling it on Monday. Let's get started. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Lori Lothian. This is a world astrology and individual signs astrology channel. I do both. If you like that kind of content, I put out 30, 40 videos a month. I kid you not. And lots of shorts. So please like and subscribe. And astrology is a map of time. Astrology helps you time your best life because you have a time map to work with. So you can use my time map of 2026 for your sign. It's in the description box below. Check it out. See if that's something that you might like to work with. It's a fundraiser. It's for sale, but it's very affordable. And each of those videos for your sign is 2.5 hours long. And there's a PDF guidebook as well. All right. So I'm going to get started. I'm recording this for you on March the 6th, which is a Friday. I'm going to tell you that as we head into this weekend, and there's going to be a Kazemi on Saturday, and we're going to come into a Venus-Pluto story, and we're coming into a Saturn-Venus story. There's going to be kind of like Monday, Tuesday of this week ahead, a kind of afterglow or after hangover from what might have felt like hitting some sort of wall in the weekend behind you. And that could just be love or money or enjoyment or pleasure walls, right? Like Saturn is the wall. He's fallen in Aries. And then Venus is plowing into him and she's in exile or lack of dignity. And so it's a bit of like a crash or a crunch here energetically. As I record on Friday, March the 6th, I'm not tracking stock markets, for example. I mean, normally that's a Taurus story, but Venus rules Taurus. And maybe we'll even see some really kind of dastardly stock market, aftermarket downdrafts on the weekend behind you when you listen to this. But I'm recording on the morning of March the 6th, which is a Friday. And also, if you want to learn how to use astrology as a timing tool, please join me in my Divine Timing Masterclass, 5 weeks of advanced and ancient astrology tools for timing cycles and rhythms in your life and the life of your clients. That's for advanced, beginner, and intermediate astrologers. Information about that course is down below. All right, live with me, all of that. Okay, so just before I show you the chart and just before we look at this whole Venus story, Venus with Saturn, Venus with Neptune for the first time in a lifetime, the other thing I want to say is everyone take a deep breath, because I know I've been talking to you guys. Still have a few clients. I have students, and a lot of people are so anxious about what's happening in the world, particularly in the Middle East at this time. This is predictable, and many of us astrologers predicted not only the conflagration in the Middle East with Iran based on the Mars-Saturn story, and it flared on the 27th or so. Well, that was the Puerto Vallarta, Mexico thing, but in the aftermath of the Mars square Saturn, this is the final chapter between the Iran-Israel-America story that was fired up by a conjunction between Mars and Saturn in, memory serves me, April of 2024. We're in the closing chapter. We're on the last leg of the story. And what I would say about that is that because Neptune is in the sign of Aries, war, and Saturn is in the sign of Aries, war, and they're together in Aries in the early degrees, this is usually called holy wars. And historically, if you track this cycle back through time, you get the glamour of war, like the United States Civil War with Neptune and Aries. And with Neptune and Saturn, you also get crusades and holy wars and those kinds of wars that you look back historically and say, oh, were they nuts? Like, were they going to war for religious reasons? Really? Aren't we past that? No, we're not past that, because we're in it again. So it is a story that you can't avoid with these two planets together. The worst of it is the next 3 years, because Saturn and Neptune together bring the hardships of war, Chiron, the wounds of war. He's still there until 27. And also Neptune, the delusion and illusion of war. And also the fanatical religious or spiritual reasons for war. Now, there is a spiritual warfare going on in the world, and it's not between Democrats and Republicans or Islam and Judaism or Christianity. The war is between the dark and the light and the dark are not about your religion, and they're not about your politics. They're about your soul. And there is interference on this planet. There is interference from what you can call demons or fallen angels or archons. There's a false god. Read the Gnostic Gospels and look, maybe that's just a description. Maybe that's not exactly accurate. But what I will say is that when, David Icke always says the reptilians, but he's not far off from that. There is an interfering presence called the invasive presence on Earth, although they are literally when you have some flowers. I want to share something with you because I'm going to talk about the week ahead. I promise. I love this vase. Okay. There's some flowers in a vase, right? And those flowers are still alive. Not really. What they are is they look alive because they have water and they're sucking up water as nutrition from the bottom of a vase. But these flowers are dead because they've been cut from the root. And what's dead, guys, and cut from the root is the evil forces that have been interfering with humanity and our development and our evolution and our DNA. And they're actually been cut at the root, but they're still alive enough that they're like a wild beast, you know what I mean? An angry animal. And that's what we're seeing. It's like the last gasp of the dying invasive presence. I channeled a book, The Coming Age of Miracles. Look into my description box for the free PDF. And it is about all of the things I'm telling you about now, including the invasive presence. And I did that in 2019 on the aftermath of a spiritual awakening and a Mercury Kazemi. And the last thing I want to say about holy wars, you can't go, Iran's a theocracy and it's religious nuttery. Did you know that more women are in political power and in university power, like 70% more than in the West? So no, it's not the whole hijab thing, and that is gone. People aren't even bothering anymore. They let that one go. But it's the othering of others. It's the villainization and demonization of others, as if we're not all human, as if we're not all spiritually of one stripe. And so the holy war is coming off of like the evangelical Zionist Christians who are now infiltrated all levels of power, including the United States Department of Defense / war, because this war is going to bring Jesus back. And until this war happens, Armageddon and the rapture and Jesus can happen and 144,000 are left or whatever. This is like a hot, wet dream. If you listen to Lindsey Graham, you get the vibe, like someone's off their rocker, or Mike Huckabee or Pete Hegseth. They're all very motivated by spiritual ideals to do with the end of the world and Jesus, and we need this Middle Eastern war for this to happen. And so, and then if you are a Zionist or you're part of the religious right-wing fundamentalists, it's all God's plan. The land belongs to you. It's your holy right to take all this land back, and your Messiah will come back. So the Messiah, the Mashiach, all of this stuff is religious war that we're seeing. It's not, but it's a war that's not about your religion, your politics. It so drives me nuts. It's a war that's about the darker forces that have invaded the earth. And last thing I want to say, has anyone read A Wrinkle in Time? That book by Madeleine L'Engle is not a story, a fiction. It is a truth that was translated as a fiction for children. We have a kind of a gray cover surrounding the earth. We're trapped here like a prison planet and isolated from our greater, let's say, galactic community. So that sounds like a lot of stuff. It doesn't. It usually I do world astrology on a Monday as well as your sign. I'll talk about events that are coming in the world. This is a quiet week. There's not much I want to bring to your attention. So I'm really going to just talk about Venus and what she does when she's in a sign of exile in Aries. She's like a tomboy, and she's dealing with Saturn and Neptune and what this means for your sign. I'm going to be finding a sidekick to do world astrology with me on the monthly and on the weekly. And I have Donnie Lim on my monthly now, and he and I are going to, you guys love Donnie Lim. We're going to talk what we see every month ahead for the world. That's going to be separate videos. And every Monday, I'm going to sidekick with some other astrologer. I'm looking for one person who wants to continue to do it with me. And we're going to talk about world astrology, and then I'll go ahead and delineate the all signs myself. All right, let's get going to your sign. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And there's a bunch of free things about me that you can get in my description box below, meditations, this and that. Please troll down my description box and see what you want from me. There's freebies galore, how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, all of that good stuff. All right, let's start off with Aries and talk about what it feels like to have Venus in our sign this week ahead, all the way through to March the 30th. Let's pull that up. And here we go again. So it is your sun sign is your eternal nature, your core essential self, your spirit that plays in matter. It is defined as career and purpose as a general category, as well as father figures. Your moon is how you think and feel about your life, but it also can represent domicile, home, and mother figures. And you're going to find that your rising sign is your simulation character, or the role in the movie a screenwriter wrote for you. The actor would be the sun. So your deepest essence is the sun. The sun doesn't really wake up in most people's charts till after your mid-40s, although the first 7 years of your life are very solar driven as well. Because we have a character we have to play, we embody that character most of our lives. But as we become spiritually more self-aware and start to investigate the fiction of the character itself, we become more awake and alive and enlightened and liberated, and we begin to see our solar energy play out. I'm an Aries sun and I'm an Aquarius rising. I can't tell you how much more powerful I'm finding my sun energy, sun, moon, and rising to be when I'm doing my own astrology these days. All right, so this is the sky. I guess I could actually cue it to Aries just since we're starting with Aries. Why not? And I've got it set for the way back in April for some reason. So let's move ourselves forward a couple of days to March the 9th, and let's get ourselves over to Aries. So we can do that too. If you're wondering why I'm sighing, like that is a big sigh, isn't it? That sounds like I'm ready to go to bed. I've just been feeling very overwhelmed lately with my production schedule and life. And I know you guys always call me the hardest working astrologer on YouTube. And that's probably true. But I'm also, needing to spend more time, as many of us probably are, in vast, spacious, still awareness and quietude and solitude and meditation and creative stuff as well. And the pace of the online YouTube content creation story can be a little bit at odds with that. So right now I'm just hitting a bit of my own wall because why? Look at Saturn. So Saturn is here, Venus is here. We're on Tuesday. Let's take us back a day. Let's take us back one day. And it's Mercury retrograde. And I recorded this video for you Thursday the 5th. And the recording stopped at 13 minutes. I might have paused it for a glass of water. I don't remember. And I lost the whole recording, really. So I'm starting over today. So you can imagine why I'm sighing. But if you want to talk about hitting a wall for us, Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign, well, you can see the wall no further than right here. Saturn is the wall. Venus plowed into Saturn. Really, you felt it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is beginning to loosen its grip just a bit. So I'm recording on Friday, just going into this feeling of somewhat like a pleasure and joy exhaustion, right? Or a containment, constriction, and contraction of pleasure, joy, and fun, and all the good things that Venus can represent. And so I want you, all of you, Aries, sun, moon, and rising, to reflect back. How were you feeling Friday, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday? Now it's going to loosen up a bit as we move into Monday. And Venus in her Pluto story for all signs on Monday, Tuesday, this can really recharge your batteries and power you back up to a bigger, deeper, more true vision of what you want to achieve in your life, in your long range goals and dreams for your life. So there's a lot, and your career. There's a lot going on that allows for a rejuvenated vision and more wealth, maybe, but also a new way of seeing things as you move into Monday, Tuesday, even on Wednesday. Now, the story of Venus in the sign of Aries, you're not about to start a holy war. For the world, I'm kind of intrigued to see that we have the asteroid, the Sphinx, sitting here. And a lot of you do know that there's ground penetrating satellite radar showing things underneath the pyramids in Giza and the Sphinx probably as well. And these scientists from Italy have not released their final results. And there's a big pending excitement about that. So we may find some revelations about ancient stories, but also Egypt and the Sphinx. So world astrology, how does Egypt get into the conflagration in the Middle East, especially since Egypt is basically bought and paid for by the United States. But in our own Aries world, our own small Aries little world, we're going to be maybe going very deep into some inner mysteries that feel like we're going into an adventure to lost civilizations within our own self. And I do want to mention that, you're going to be feeling Saturn and Neptune vibrationally, right, for a long time, 14 years for Neptune, 13 years for Neptune, really, and 3 more years or until April of 28 for Saturn. But it is Venus coming here every single year to reinitiate this part of the sky. And this is a first in a lifetime experience of that. And it's going to be operational through to the 30th of March. How does it feel to try to find joy, love, beauty, kindness, peace, maybe happiness, when you have also to be realistic and sober-minded to the point where you feel like your realism is such a hard reality check, you feel like you're having a fall, and then Neptune says dream and vision. So you want to make some new dreams true between now and April of 2028. One of the biggest dreams you want to make true is a proper career path for you that brings enjoyment and balance into your life and is sustainable and also not overwhelming you. At the same time, you're also looking at long-term committed love with a sober and realistic perspective. It's kind of a bit of a Debbie Downer if you're already married through till March 30th, because you might be finding yourself contracting around your significant other partnership. If you're not with someone, then you're really going into almost like a reality checklist about what you want to experience in love and in long-term committed partnerships. So this Venus also trails some of the realism and the restructuring into making money as well as career success, right? Because we have an activation of 2 parts of the chart, and your 10th house and your 2nd house. So I want you to think about through till March the 30th, how for the first time in your life, Aries, rising and sun, most likely more accurate, moon, a little bit so, mostly your emotional feelings about what I'm talking about. Because by the time you reach March 30th, you will have a clearer understanding of where to find joy, balance, harmony, and peace in your money-making endeavors, in your career space, And not so much that you will find a relationship under this storyline, but you will eliminate the type of relationship you do not want. So it'll be a process of what you do not want, your hard stops, your non-negotiables. And you're actually coming into a deeper, more mature understanding of what you truly desire in long-term and committed love stories, whether you're with someone now or not. And that story will roll through until March the 30th. Well, Taurus, how does it feel to have like a first in a lifetime Venus hookup with both Saturn and Neptune together in your 12th house? And this Venus story initiates a theme that will return in this particular way through till April of 28. This story, Venus says to you, is where is your absolute true pleasure in life that comes from solitude, contemplation, and aloneness, but also is not from alcohol, drugs, and escapism. And why do I say that? Because Neptune is the addictive and escapist part of the story in your 12th house. Saturn is the containment, sober blockage that's trying to fix a problem if you have one. Now, it doesn't have to be a substance misuse disorder, although it may be. It could also be sabotaging patterns and habits emotionally. It could be your karmic ties and knots from your childhood, family of origin, and past lives that are like sanskaras or old patterns you need to shed. And if you took vows of chastity and poverty in other lives, you're going to cut those away as well. So between now and 2028, you're doing a lot of soul work, right? You're cutting the roots of problems from other times, other places, family of origin, etc. And Venus is always asking one question: what do you desire? And are you in enjoyment mode in your life? And so what do you desire and what are you in enjoyment mode is a process of discovery until April of 28 for you. 2028, but you'll notice for the first initiation to March the 30th, you're really thinking about these questions at a level and depth that you have never pondered before. It's going to take you also into the answer question period around what kind of service and work is truly right for you in the world, as Venus rules your 6th house of job. And so now you're also saying to yourself, well, I want to be of service, and Saturn rules your career space, but how do I do that in a way that brings me enjoyment? Some of you might want to work remotely. Some of you might want to have digital income and borderless revenue. Some of you might be more interested in finding a path of work that is meaningful, dharmic, and aligned with some sense of spiritual, reason for being on the planet rather than just the job and the money. Although with Pluto in your 10th house until 2044, not only could you be quite powerful in your career, but you could also become quite wealthy. But the questions you ask are deep. And by doing that soul work in round 1 until March the 30th with Venus here, you're really going to be able to see on a clear day, you can see forever what it is and where you're going. So she entered March 30th. She leaves March 30th. March 6th, she leaves March 30th. This is the first in a lifetime. And you're going to have to really sit with some things. And I will give you some advice because Venus is your ruler. And anything in the soul work space you do can also be good for your body and your health. Houses 1 and 6. You have a calling by March 30th to spend some alone time. Don't go out on social junkets if you can avoid it. Yes, I know you want to socialize until mid-April. You've got Mercury still in Pisces making you feel like a social life is a good thing. But I'm telling you, the quality of your alone time, get up early before the sun rises, go to when everyone else in your household's in bed, stay up for an extra half hour, journal, free associate, morning page write, meditate, sit quietly, do something, because your aloneness, especially with Neptune, visions, imaginal realms can open up for you. You can really find a new direction for your work and your career and your enjoyment of life if you are allowing for space for that to emerge. It's not going to come in the middle of your social life. And that social life, it looks compelling It looks compelling through March into mid-April. And yet it is also maybe a distraction because Mercury is in a condition of exile. So I'm giving you, and fall, I'm giving you some encouragement to de-escalate the social life and spend some quality time with yourself. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. Okay, so you guys have a progressed Gemini sun, so I can relate. You guys have this energy of Venus, March 6th to March 30th, moving through the 11th house, which is good spirit house, which is positive. But it's also the house of our longer range goals, wishes, plans, desires, and dreams. It's a desire house. And what we can do in that energy field with Venus, the goddess of desire and enjoyment of life, is that we can now go a little bit deeper into the question of what do we truly desire for our life's path. With Saturn here, the Lord of our Dharmic ninth house, this is non-negotiable. Very few Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, especially sun, can get away with an unexamined life on this one. You're going to be called into this story through to April of 2028 when Saturn leaves Aries. So that Venus-Saturn hookup that continually reassesses itself is how and when and where and why does purpose show up for you? Because sometimes the job is not the purpose. The career is not the purpose. It may be the doorway to the purpose. It may be the stepping stones to the purpose. So purpose becomes a theme for you over the next 3 years. And in the next 30 days or until March the 30th, you're going to really have a lot of consideration of that question. The hardship energy that Saturn and Venus can bring here, and you'll feel through to the end of March, is that you're really not wanting to socialize, time out, social networking, friendships, groups, and like that's not your gig. You're gonna fall into a feeling that there's something about being alone or not entertaining a huge amount of fun and friends. It's going to be a better feeling for you through till March the 30th. Saturn is definitely the loner and constricting your friendships. And Venus likes to enjoy herself, but she's traveling with Saturn. And then we have Neptune as well. Make your dreams real for the long term of your life that fall in alignment with your highest values, that also allow for a sense of deep purpose. Because if you can do that, Venus also can say with Saturn, will make you much more wealthy, and you'll have money that you're not hustling to make, but that you can rely on, that you can use because you can maybe make money, have investment monies, have like stockpiled monies that are making money. There's something about the time out around your goals and wishes and dreams and purpose that allows for you to recalibrate other ways to make money instead of the hustle. And Saturn here could be a falling out with a friend with Venus. So by the end of March, the 30th, you may have like a karmic grim reaper thing going on with one of your friends, and there could be a closure of that friendship relationship or a relationship hardship with or in the life of a sibling, one older than you. And that may be a story that's going on at the same time through to March the 30th. And I'd say a sibling, one older than you and two older than you, can be mixed up in this next few weeks until March the 30th. And Venus here, she rules your 12th house, which is an enlightenment house. But it also allows for generation of income and revenue from distant shores, foreign lands. Foreign companies are working in a foreign country. And so again, she's in charge of that, but she's always asking the simple question, not only what do you desire, but are you having any fun? And if you're not having enjoyment of what you're doing to make the money, then she's helping you understand, dream a new dream, find a new vision as well. And that's going to be a vibe that happens again and again until April of 2028. So you're on your first in a lifetime consideration of those deeper questions. Now, one last thing. Venus rules your sex, romance, and love house and your children. And it's your 5th house. It's also art, creativity, and entrepreneurship. She's gazing along this axis, and this is important, because Venus here is going to also ask you about your long-term love relation, your sexy romantic life. And even though she's not in that house, she's looking at it from the 11th. That's her domain. And she may be actually saying something like, okay, literally, like I'm going to make, not kidding you, but Saturn can mean Venus, Saturn here, friends with benefits, right? Or casual sex, or, friendship sex, or friendship romance. And she's like, she's exiled here. She's not happy with that. She wants to go into the house of true love. So if you're considering what love and sex and romance mean to you, you're looking for something more than the playground of sex and love. You're looking for the more profound, balanced, harmonious, true, divine, and maybe soulmate love because of Neptune. So there's some considerations there as well. And you may also be considering that, what about your creative and artistic and muse inspired life? Where is it? Do you even have it right now? She's exiled from the muse, right? Exiled from the enjoyment and pleasures of life, the fifth house. So you're looking at this question hard. How can you bring the muse back? How can you find the fun in life? How can you find the pleasures that are authentically and genuinely and robustly true for who you are? How can you express your natural talents and gifts? Geminis, all of you can write books, Libra library book, fifth house, from a natural ability that you may have. And that's one of the things on my menu bucket list, is to finally get one of my multiple manuscripts published or finish writing any of them. Okay, so I'm leaving us behind. I have a progressed Gemini sun, and your progressed planets are not as critical as your natal, but they're also an important delineation as well. Come study with me in the Divine Timing Masterclass and learn how to really dive deeply into solar arc time. All right, so we have you, Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign, looking at the sky for a first in a lifetime Venus transit through your 10th house. Your 10th house is a place of career expression. Your public sees you there. You're at the high noon and the OK Corral. This is quite often where everything you do in the world is watched by other people. And so it's your visible stature. So even like widowed, divorced, married, ceremonies, weddings, marriages, christenings, and funerals, everything belongs at the top of the sky because these are public ceremonies. And so where you are in your life right now, Venus is saying first in a lifetime, let's look for what you truly desire in the career area of your reality and what's going to bring you authentic enjoyment. And because Venus is also the ruler of your 11th house of career gains, including money, rewards, awards, celebrity, fame, influence, whatever you want, and the perks of your career, when you align with your true values and desires for a career that satisfies you and brings you enjoyment, she's telling you, I will up the ante and make you more money. But you need to find that layer of enjoyment. Chiron, the key to purpose, is in the 10th house. And he's been telling you since 2019 to lean into purpose and your natural talents and gifts in your career. And so a lot of you Cancer risings have been working with the figuring outness of that story. And Venus is also the domicile lord or the ruler of your fourth house. Exiled from her fourth house, she might be feeling she's spending way too much time. And you've been thinking about this March the 6th to March the 30th, way too much time in the workspace and career ambition, professional advancement space, and not nearly enough time in the nest, in the home, enjoying the simple pleasures of your private life, the midnight hour, the people you live with, and the things you do in the privacy of your home. And so she's got to find balance, she's saying to you, and you're going to be working on what that balance looks like by March the 30th. Venus in your 10th house also is very much about a career glow up, but again, at what cost? What do you truly desire? Is it purposeful? And are you enjoying the ride? Because Saturn and Venus are together here and will be until 2028, once a year, you're probably going to ask yourself some deep questions in the next 30 days or until March the 30th about your long-term relationship, committed love story agenda. If you're single, you might be asking yourself a lot of questions about, do you want to get married? Saturn represents traditional marriage. Do you want to have a wedding? Are you going to be looking at wanting to separate or divorce from somebody you're already with? Like, these kinds of big questions become very evident end of March of this year, but every spring for the next couple of years. And Venus is the ruler of your chunky money eighth house. I mean, Saturn is the ruler of your chunky money eighth house. And so now you're also going to be thinking about retirement monies, investing monies, spousal shared monies, divorce separation monies. Saturn Venus up here can continually invite you to the possibility of a separation or a divorce or even widowhood. And at the same time, it can also flip the script to say, well, we've been, dating and living together for 10 years. Like, we need to get married already. I want to have a wedding. So these are big questions, and big answers will be coming for every single Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. And you'll get the flavor of this new story by the end of March. If I have any advice for you between now and March 30th, carve out some time in the midnight hour, reading your favorite books, snuggling up in bed, watching shows with your partner on Netflix, if you have one, baking, or doing pleasurable activities in the home, because whatever you do, you need that balance, and you're feeling out of balance according to the sky somehow, some way. There's something going on in the top of the sky that is making the pleasure part of your life less enjoyable and a little bit more contracted. So that's something you're going to try to find the balance in through till April of 2028. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. First in a lifetime, Venus moving in your Aries sky with Neptune and Saturn co-present. This energy is going to change your purpose in life, especially with Chiron, the key to purpose, in your ninth house. This is going to activate an alignment with something completely different than anything you've ever entertained before. It doesn't have to be your career. Career and purpose are not always the same thing. Having a significant, meaningful sense of life purpose will be a driving force, but Venus has a very strong desire to ask you to enjoy it. Like, if you can't find pleasure and enjoyment and satisfaction in any kind of purpose, she's telling you it's not the right one. She's exiled from the third house, saying that maybe some of what your purpose could involve, and you need to come back to it, is maybe you're a natural writer, maybe you're a natural communicator, maybe you're a natural teacher, or maybe you have a love of learning and you want to do more of that. And that will bring you enjoyment in the sense it's a purposeful thing to do. And even a love of reading. And so a lot of what you are being called to do is activate some of the third house gifts. Third house is also scrying, divining, and fortune telling. And if that's been a part of your path, or you want it to become that, Venus might draw your attention to it. Venus is also the ruler of your career house, of course, but career and purpose must come together as she continually navigates through every single year through to March of 28. This story with Neptune and Saturn that feels like a contraction, but you're also on a runway. And the purpose is she clears through the ninth house and lifts off into your 10th house. And so one of the things you'll notice by the end of March, I hope, is you will have come to a new structural understanding of how career and purpose might interact with each other. For example, you could have a career that's just for the money, but it frees up money for the purpose. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be one thing. It can be two things, but there's something going on that's going to take you through to March of 2028 into trying to find that intersection between career, money, earnings, and dharma or purpose. Saturn with Venus here, Saturn rules a couple of stories: the work house, the service house, the job house, and again, your 10th house of career. So she's pondering the Artha stories from a place of dharma. She wants meaning and purpose, while you're also looking at the everyday needs of money, job, earnings, and career, and you're trying to find a way through it. She also rules your marriage house. And from the 9th house, she could be saying, yeah, I know, by 2028, you could come into a new long-term love relationship with someone 6 or 7 years older or younger than you. And they may come from a foreign land, foreign place, or foreign shore, different ethnicity, religion, skin color, that kind of thing. Or they could also be somebody you meet in a 9th house setting, a spiritual community, a church, a synagogue, or higher educational academic settings. And that could bring single Leos into that new relationship, or that new relationship could formalize into wedding plans between now and 2028. Look for evidence for some of that. If you're single, you could meet somebody between now and March 30th, and that could initiate that new story. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. It feels to me like you're going to want to maybe go see a therapist, go have a past life regression, or go deep into your soul work, because that's what's going on when Venus is going to, first in a lifetime, continually join Saturn and Neptune through to 2028, once a year, usually in the spring. And she goes through this part of the sky, and she's going to take you deep. Saturn is already in a karmic house as a karmic planet, and Neptune is a visual and imaginal realms. Now, at a spiritual level, if you have any occult talents and gifts, tarot, numerology, astrology, you could do psychic readings or whatever. Some of this stuff wants to be investigated a little bit, right? Venus will want to draw your attention to if there's something about that whole oeuvre of the occult or the supernatural that you enjoy. Can you bring it into your life in a way that you make money from it, because she rules your earnings house? And Saturn here tells us as well that this is maybe a late blooming development for you, that it could happen later in life. So if you're listening, I don't think this is you at 16 years old, but I could be wrong. And Chiron is that key to purpose. And, you may be a naturally gifted occultist in a good way, a magician, a sorceress or something. And this is asking you to consider that this could be a part of an earning strategy in your life. And by April of 2028, if that's true, you'll know more. You'll understand that to be a yay or a nay, because Venus also rules your job and work house and your money and earnings house. I'm sorry. Saturn rules your job and money and job and work house, and Venus rules your earnings house. The two of them are trying to find money making, job and work and career stuff that's going to align with something you enjoy. That's also deeply spiritual, psychological, or occult. Venus is a wealth goddess in a chunky money house, and she could bring you some inheritance money or money from the in-laws between now and April of 2028. She's here now until March the 30th. So look for some evidence that could be true. She does exalt your marriage house as well. So it can tie to in-laws in more than one way. And as Venus is transversing this part of your sky, remember that she also owns your 9th house. So that's meaning and life purpose. And the question about whether or not you have to educate yourself or study or learn might be coming up for you, to go back to school or go to school for the first time. And that's a thing that might be continually haunting you as a question through till April of 2028. And it could even lead a few of you to enroll in an academic or collegiate setting to learn a new trade or skill. Venus with Saturn, and when Saturn is the ruler of romance and sex and pregnancy and conception, for some of you could indicate a conception of a child between now and 2028 with you and or your partner, male or female, that will be the reincarnation of someone in your family of origin who had passed away before, right? Like an elder who'd passed away. And that's what I have for you. So don't forget, you get the Venus transit through the 8th house of chunky money. That's why I said inheritances, in-law money. But you get this story coming through your chart, every spring until April of 2028. So it's a theme that wants to continually, first in a lifetime, really bring something to bear. I want to say that with Neptune here, if you haven't used your imagination to visualize angels, talk to archangels, have visionary dialogues with the dead or anything like that, or if you haven't used those talents or abilities, it's very possible that a lot of you will. And every year, Mercury will go through Aries and really ramp that up, like here after mid-April, right? You could come into amazing new superpowers psychically. So don't discount that part of your reality, because it's calling you out somehow, some way. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is your story here to wonder about your committed long-term love relationships. Challenges are here for you because Saturn will be in this part of your sky until April of 2028, which is a big testing of an existing relationship. It can go like a marathon of endurance. You might end up wanting to formalize, move in together, get married, give your relationship structure. On the other hand, it's also testing, and it may feel like a lot of hardship to get to the end of the story by April of 2028. It's very make or break, but nothing happens overnight. It's a gradual testing period. Saturn here with Venus, first in a lifetime with Neptune co-present. So this trio combination occurs again and again and again in the spring of 27, spring of 28, and you're really asked to look clearly and strongly at relationships from a sober, realistic mindset. If you are single and you are not in a relationship, then Saturn says somebody soulmatey, Neptune, Saturn, age difference, or lasting, enduring will come your way. This is a funny placement because Saturn means an age difference of 7 years higher or lower than your own age, but Saturn is in the sign of youth. So some of you may get into a relationship with someone 6 or 7 years younger than you under this kind of sky. And this could show up between now and 2028. Now, for the life of your significant other, Venus is the goddess of pleasure and enjoyment and beauty. Saturn is constriction and hardship, and Neptune is addiction. If you are dating anybody, or you want to work with clients who are going through addiction and recovery things, or if you are dating a customer, oh my God, dating somebody, not dating, if you're in a committed love story with someone struggling with addictions, then you're going to be seeing them sober up between now and April 2028. Okay. But it can also put you into mind you want to work with people in recovery and help them as well. Okay. So both of those are true. Venus is definitely wanting do her best to find you a relationship partnership that enhances your shared financial resources with that person. And if you go through a divorce, she wants to bring you your fair share of what the divorce settlement brings, and especially land, property, and real estate. Saturn rules that part of your chart with Venus. You could come out on top in a divorce settlement. But if you're not divorcing and you're looking for love, then this is like, let's move in together. Let's consolidate something. Let's buy a home together. And by April of 28, you might see that as true. She rules your sex and love house. Saturn rules your sex and love house. So you want to have sex, love, endurance, transformation, and like kind of a cathartic, deep, profound intimacy, Pluto, in committed and long-term love. And, if you're single, you probably will by April 28 find somebody. Yeah. And Venus is the ruler of your sign. So she's trying to bring it. If you find yourself paying way too much attention to other people between now and March 30th, for some reason you're consumed with customers or clients or your significant other or your business partner, then pull it back and take time to be with yourself, because Venus is in a condition of exile from your Libra kingdom. So bring your energy back to you. Consciously choose not to be so focused on everyone else but yourself. Okay. Bring the energy home in a conscious way through till March the 30th, right? Because it will feel a little bit like WTF, it's about everyone but me, customers, clients, spouse, partner, blah, blah, blah. Bring the energy back to yourself and restore yourself. All right. That's my guidance, because Venus is your Lord, and even Saturn is the exaltation Lord for you, and he's fallen. So bring back structure, self-love, discipline, self-care and caretaking back to yourself through to March the 30th. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Well, when Venus is in the 6th house, she's in the work house and the health house, but she's this time in a first in a lifetime co-presence with Neptune and Saturn. And we'll repeat that Neptune, Saturn, Venus co-presence through till the spring of 2028. Therefore, every spring you're faced with some questions. What do you need to constrict discipline and structure in your work life and in your health matters, so that you can experience the enjoyment of good health or the enjoyment of your work routines? Saturn is all about the structure. Venus is all about the enjoyment. Chiron, the key to purpose, keeps pointing you in that direction. Job aside, you also want meaning and purpose within the context of work. Venus is the ruler of your 12th house of self-undoing. If you're your own worst enemy when it comes to health, structure, and discipline in the work and in the health regime, then this is going to help you fix the problem. Some of you are tempted to get a pet under this transit through to March 30th. And if you don't do it this year, you might do it next spring. It will call in a yearning for an animal, and ironically, a large one. If you're going to get a dog, it's a beast. It's probably a mastiff. And the other thing about Saturn here, I mean, watch out for your headaches, head issues, because it could be karmic patterns of health challenges connected to Aries, the head, the ram's head, right? And I think that a deeper layer of Venus here would be the fact that if you're literally working like a slave and it feels like duty and drudgery, because this is a house of slavery and this is the jailer Saturn, then something's got to give. You're getting clues to pay attention to what you're actually experiencing in your work, because you have other options in life. It's not one thing. So Saturn is a ruler of your third house of online, social media, selling, marketing, teaching, and learning storylines. Maybe those are more apt career paths, even entrepreneurial things. As well, Saturn is the ruler of your fourth house. Would you prefer more work at home? Are you ending up traveling too much, commuting for work, spending too much time in a fluorescent office? Do you want to migrate to home-based work? That's something you might be thinking of doing and may occur very much by 2028. If you're not a self-starter, if you don't have entrepreneurial stuff going on yet, a lot of Scorpios can conceive an entrepreneurial career path. It also could be a path that involves writing, but your career and entrepreneurial storylines are in shift between now and April of 2028, thanks to Venus's guidance every single year. You know, if she could hang out in your 12th house in Libra, she'd be writing books in the midnight hour or all night long or home alone writing. So I encourage a lot of Scorpios who think they're writers, Jupiter's in your publishing house till the end of June, that you could be moving in a direction of entrepreneurial, self-directed, creative, and writing type business directions over the next couple of years. Chiron does leave the wounded space of your sixth house of work and health full on in, I think it's February of 27, but it's in 2027. Although he will dip out this summer and take a break in June, July, and August, where you get through to mid-September, you get a break in the wound of the work and the wound of the health. You get a break on that front. Funny, my Scorpio rising sun is going to do paternity leave for 8 months, and they're expecting a baby in July. So that goes July, August, September. He's kind of like, I don't feel the chironic wound of work anymore because I am no longer stuck in my job. I'm taking care of my baby, you know, that kind of thing. I think it's a girl. No, I think it's a boy. I don't say a girl. I had a boy image over and over again. I better double check that. We're waiting for the ultrasound. Hey, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. First in a lifetime. You are having Venus co-present with both Neptune and Saturn in your fifth house, which is a romance house. And Venus is a romance goddess. And you might be falling into a romance between now and March the 30th. But also, this is true every spring through till the late 28th or so of April 2028. So if you're single, Venus keeps trying to bring it, you know, but likely through your friendship circles or groups of belonging, or maybe a friend converting to a romantic lover. At the same time, Saturn says karmic love relationships and Neptune says soulmate and big love. So all of you single Sagittarius looking for love, good for you. However, because Venus is in exile and Saturn is fallen, you might be in the kind of placement of relationship, love, and romance that has some hitches to it. You know, maybe one of you is married or there's some complications here. This is the house of your children, and your children can have children. So you could become a grandparent under this transit. And technically speaking, this is probably more likely to be involving your firstborn child, but it can also be your second. And you might just find that becoming a grandparent becomes a new story. If you do become a grandparent and Venus is in charge of that, you may have a karmic relationship with that child. You may feel very connected to a grandchild. And also Sagittarius, your fifth house is a sibling 2 younger than you. or 4 older than you. And there may be considerations about major changes in that relationship as well. Your 5th house is what brings you joy, fun, play, pleasure. It can involve art, acting, painting, the muse, inspiration, your natural talents and gifts that you're born with. It also represents the place of your entrepreneurial instinct to create your own business. If you don't have your own business and you wanted to always create your own business, and Saturn rules your 3rd house of marketing, selling, merchandising, writing, communicating, social media, then you're all set to go. And between now and 2028 April, the story can continually remind you it's time to start your own business, find your own way, break out of a rut, and stuff like that when it comes to career. You could find yourself in this kind of story. Be careful. There's only one warning. Neptune rules transmissible diseases through things that are invisible. Saturn represents challenges and hardship, and Venus is sex, and Chiron is health matters. This is not a good placement for being a player or going out there and having a lot of unprotected sex. This would get you sick. You will get an STD, and it may be a real humdinger. So I'm going to warn you, because Venus rules your house of sickness, that sexually transmitted diseases are a huge risk for all Sagittarius rising in particular, not sun and moon, rising between now and February of 2028. So please heed my advice. Unprotected sex, or even protected sex that's sloppy protection, or even not knowing who you're with in their sexual history. Now, I'm not kidding you. I would advise, before you get involved with somebody at all, you get them to take a full panel STD test. And I don't know if you know this, but the AIDS virus can take up to 6 months to show up in a test if someone acquires it. So you want to wait 6 months even. If they promise you they've been sexually inactive. I mean, it takes 6 months to show up in a test. I'm just giving you a heads up, guys. There's a lot of super bugs out there as well. Children, you got children. Children could go through a difficult time. They might be really out of sorts with their life, finding life is constricted and hard. Depression, anxiety, lack of enjoyment in the life of one of your children can be a theme that starts to show up for your child, and you might have to be intervening to help them get through the anxiety or the depression or the lack of life enjoyment, or a breakup with one of their loved partners. And so you might be on the sidelines being a helper for that if you have kids, right? All righty. And the other thing I wanted to say is that Lord Saturn is the ruler of your money and earnings house. So can you bring joy, enjoyment, creativity, and art and entrepreneurial instinct to how you make money and do what you love? Yes. Don't do it alone. Do it with groups of people, for groups of people. Join social networking communities, because that's what Venus will ask you to do in order to succeed financially in the ways I've just described to you. And you may also pair up with a sibling, cousin, aunt, and uncle in creative, entrepreneurial, artistic endeavors until April of 2028, and find an enormous amount of riches and success from pairing with a sibling in general, or even a cousin or an extended family member in creative, entrepreneurial, artistic endeavors. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising, first in a lifetime. Venus co-presence with Neptune, Saturn running through to April of 2028, each spring returning, is a reminder about enjoying your home life and feeling like this would be, for a Capricorn, a condition of feeling some kind of constriction now through March 30th, even restlessness regarding your private and home life. So with the people you live with, the things that you do in your home, the midnight hour, your private domain, your domicile. Now you've been under a chironic wound about where you live, who you live with, where's your true home ever since 2019. Saturn is making this more realistic and sober-minded. Saturn is a reality check, okay? So Saturn, the reality check, entered here around Valentine's Day. Neptune around the 26th of January. Any kind of fantasy, illusion, delusion about how you would find enjoyment and satisfaction in your home or with whom you live and the people in the home itself. All of that has been under a huge reality check. And Now Venus is joined in the fray, March 6th to the 30th. And she's saying, are you having any fun? Is this enjoyable? Are you enjoying this? Like living with that person, living with that dog, living in this community, living in this home. Is there any enjoyment and satisfaction in your downtime? Now, truly, she is the Lord of the house of the muse here, the art, the creative, the writing, the communicating, the painting, the kiln, the knitting, the coffee pot, the fashions. Like she's a diva of what you could create as an artist, as an inspired person, using your natural talents and gifts. So she may try to call you out on that and say, well, if you're just going to sit around and not enjoy your life, can we be creative or inspired by the muse within the home? And she may also want to bring that to your attention as this is a new direction. I want you to start thinking about being creative and artistic in the home. Love in the home is conditionally constricted now. So I don't just mean love. It could be friendliness, friendship, enjoyment, but it also could be love in and from home, love in the homeland, containment, constriction, fall, not working out. And, if I had to come up with a story for this, because, Venus does rule your house of pleasure and enjoyment, but she's all effed up. Look to your childhood, because she could be giving you clues with Saturn, the Lord of Time, to look at childhood patterns, how your parents interacted, how your siblings interacted, to ask yourself why joy is contained, restricted, and exiled in the home. It's almost very stuffy with Saturn, right? Saturn is like the old man. The old man is in the home, but in a sign of youth. So it's really out of sorts here. It could be like Saturn likes to be alone, and yet being alone might be a place of suffering here because Venus, the goddess of pleasure, is exiled. She's exiled from career, the 10th house, the high noon of the sky. She wants you to find satisfaction and meaning in your publicly demonstrated activities that the world sees you doing, that most of us define as career. But if you're retired, then what are you doing in the visible world that the whole world can acknowledge? Oh yeah, that's what you're up to. Because she's not able to be at the top of the sky, and she is exiled, and Saturn exalts your career and he's fallen. You might be ruminating through to March 30th on what the fuck happened to my career and why do I feel so fallen in this house that I'm not enjoying, right? Constriction, prison, isolation. And you're going to come through this by March 30th. So sweat not, these bullets, they will pass through you. But then if you want to go forward and think about, well, you'll feel the same thing next spring, in the spring of 2028, you better get working on this, right? It's going to be haunting you until then. And Venus, bless her beautiful soul, right? She's also the ruler of your, sex and romance house, sex, romance, and love. And she's in a mopey mope until the end of March and feels wounded. So romance, love, and sex is kind of not happening here. In fact, she's in the 4th house from the 5th, which is like the bed pleasures house. You might have a desire for some enjoyment, bed pleasures, but you may not be getting your bed pleasures either. So all things said, she's out of sorts, really, really out of sorts here. And you may have a falling away, falling out, disagreement, or really tough time with someone with whom you are cohabitating with in the domestic environment. And by March 30th, there could be some harshness there and a real need to distance from that situation. Saturn rules your house of money and earnings and money making, exalts your 10th house of career, and is the ruler of who you are. And therefore, I will tell you that you are definitely being called by Saturn, Venus to find meaningful livelihood, income, work, and career direction. And that's something you could be pondering through at home alone through until March the 30th. And you've got until 2028 to figure it out. All right, hang in there. Aquarius, I am one of you. And I'm in a rising sign. And we are looking at the sky with Venus in a first in a lifetime co-presence with Saturn and Neptune in our 3rd house. And the 3rd house is writing. The 3rd house is marketing, selling, teaching, communicating, social media platforms, and engagement in social media activity. It is also the house of neighbors and neighborhood. And it is a house that connects us to siblings. It is also your ideas and your mind. Now, Venus likes to enjoy things, and she's in a condition of exile. The cadent third house is busy as all fuck. It can involve transportation, lots of car movement, commuting, gallivanting, travel, short distance. And she's in a funk. Well, I was supposed to go to Mexico and that got canceled, but she's in a funk and she doesn't know what to do with this situation. And she's feeling out of sorts. And she's going to be here March 6th, of course, to the 30th of March. And she's going to do the same thing next spring of 27 and spring of 28. And because she's in a condition of exile, she really wants to be in the ninth house. Foreign lands, foreign shores, book publishing, meaning and purpose in life, higher educational settings. And she's stuck in the third house. So she's stuck there and she's with a fallen Saturn who would exalt your ninth house of God, Dharma, purpose, meaning, publishing, communicating, speaking like, well, kind of like ninth house, being a professor, being a higher level teacher. And yet she's like, third house, I'll teach the weekend webinar. I'll do the Mercury Kazemi webinar, Lori says, but I'd rather write a book about astrology that deeply changes your life. So it's this whole very busy digital life realm. And she's like really dissatisfied. And I can tell you guys, March 6th started up feeling, I gotta slow down. I've got an octopus in my life, me with tentacles in too many places. You're going to notice Saturn here. He wants to structure realistically something in the third house through to 2028. And Venus is going to try to inspire you to enjoy the process. And Neptune is a visionary imagination, but also social media platforms involving videography. So the good news is Saturn can help you structure until 2028 reliable output and discipline, especially for writing. But where's the fun and enjoyment? Because this house is just always so busy because it rules so many topics, what I would imagine that Venus might want to do is take a pilgrimage. That's the ninth house, or spend time abroad and be inspired by new locale and people, or aim everything she does towards the idea of a book publication. So there's something about how she wants to yearn and lean into that ninth house. She's a ruler of your home, property, land, and real estate in the house of neighbors and neighborhood. Now, right now, I hear sirens every day and it's driving me nuts. Windows have been open. So I'm having disappointment or ick around my neighborhood. It's too noisy. I'm moving to a new place, but I know that I'm going to feel the same tension again next spring. So you're going to keep going back between your home, your nest, and your homestead, and neighbor and neighborly challenges. Okay, with the local environment. There's always a challenge in every environment we live in. For example, even though I will move to a new place, there's no real grocery store nearby yet. And I'll probably say, damn it, I used to be able to just walk to the grocery store. There'll be something always that pisses you off about the neighborhood. But she does want you to find a new structural way of being in and from the home in regards to your social media engagement or your neighbors or your sibling relationships. A sibling may have a health challenge between now and 2028. Chiron is going to be here until 2027. Health matters. Venus is in an exile. Saturn in his fall. Neptune, confusion around things. So it could be that a sibling could have a challenge with their health over the next couple of years, or even by now, between now and March the 30th, you might see evidence for that. It doesn't have to be true. It may be more applicable to a sibling one younger than you as well, or some tension or difficulties with a sibling one younger than you, or dissatisfaction or grumpy vibes through to March the 30th. All right. And Saturn, last but not least, ruler of your sign, is trying to do the best he can for you. And although he's out of dignity, being 3 houses from you, right, counting you 1, 2, 3, is very positive. This is where he's bringing the rewards of all of the hard work you've been doing for the last 6 years or so. And he's now giving you the rewards of the last 6, 7 years of really hard work as he moved through Aquarius and then he moved through Pisces. So now you're getting some of the gains of the work you've been doing. And some of those gains may also translate to more meaning and purpose in life as well. All right. And he rules your Saturn, your 12th house of ashrams, getaways, solitude, aloneness. and enlightenment. And he may drive your attention with Venus to find the enjoyment of solitude and aloneness, contemplation, especially if that contemplation involves travel, off to the ashram, off to a place to be alone, taking time away, like a writer's retreat, will continually call you. I don't mean a 2-week trip. I mean, booking a place for 3 months and off you go. And that kind of journey and energy continually reinforces a positive theme in your life to structure, form, and creativity over the course of the next 3 years. So a lot of you will take time out, maybe foreign, maybe local getaways, to spend time doing stuff that is going to excite you to do with maybe writing and publishing or creativity or art, etc. Oh, if you're single, Venus is a love goddess, Neptune is soulmate, Saturn is age difference 6-7 years younger and older. You can meet somebody through travel or through your online digital work or through social media, or writing communities, but this could bring a new love story your way, especially with Jupiter the second half of the year and through till summer of 27, moving into your 7th house. Venus may be a part of that. All right. Lastly, and not leastly, bestly and always best, the mystic poets of the zodiac, you are Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. You're going to notice that you've got money stuff going on here. I want you to go back to 2019 when you had a chironic wound in your dietary styles, facial appearance, and or money. And then it would have included problems with your teeth. Started in 2019. Now, Venus isn't here to try to shore things up, first in a lifetime, hanging out with Neptune and Saturn, wanting to make it work, but she's got a condition of exile. And here's the story. You're going to have to make money. And you don't want to. You're going to have to work, and you might rather just rest on your inheritance money, your spousal support money, your government checks, your investments. But Venus is like, no, we're going to do some work and we're going to make some money. And we're going to heal that chironic wound. Saturn says structure, discipline, and time. And Neptune says find the visionary part of it. Make your financial dreams real. You know, it's interesting because Saturn here can mean over the next few years, you save money. By the time you get to 2028, you've got money saved, but you're going to feel difficult. It's going to feel like you don't want to do it because Saturn can make you anxious about your money, or you can feel heavy duty responsibility about managing money and making money. But this is a path that's going to reward you. So I can tell you, I went through Saturn in my second house, and I'm 3 times as rich as I was before he began journeying there in March of 2023, and I saved a lot of money. It can make you incorporate and find a new financial structure, as I did, for your money. Now, as we start off this first in a lifetime Venus, March 6th to the 30th, in your second house, the first thing you're going to say is, am I having any fun? Do I like the food I'm eating? Is my face as beautiful as I think it should be, or do I need to work on it? Are my teeth looking good? And am I actually enjoying the way I'm making money? Yeah, these are things that are going to dominate through to the end of March. Venus is the ruler of your 3rd house. It's good to make money through writing, social media, divining, prophesying, fortune telling, and scrying. It's good to make money through selling, marketing, learning, or teaching endeavors. Okay, teaching endeavors. These are things that she can bring it for you. And she also can potentially, under this kind of sky, because she does exalt you, she can also amplitude up your chunky money over time. Saturn is time. But you got to make the money to invest the money, make the money to, put it in a bond or a GIC or whatever you do, so you need to make money to invest money. And she's going to help you do that over the next 3 years. Now, if you want to. One thing about Lord Saturn is he's the ruler of the money you can make for international digital borderless income and revenue, money from a foreign country because you live there and you make money there, or you are making money from foreign clients, customers, or foreign corporations and organizations that you work for. So money from distant and foreign places is a theme here. And so I don't want you to be locked and loaded on working for your 7-Eleven unless it's owned by a foreign company. You can make money in the broader aspects I just told you, including social media and digital income. So that's a new way for you to think about you and money. And you also have the Saturn as the ruler of your long-range goals, plans, and dreams, your desires, but also your gains of your career, second from your 10th. And so you make money and you have success. Venus can say, I can try to bring it to you. I'm trying to help you. Do that in a structured, disciplined, long-term way. over time. This is not an overnight success story financially, in career gains, in social media land, in far off lands and shores. Nothing about Saturn is overnight. He's incremental. He's a tortoise in the hare. He's a tortoise and he wins the race. So you will see incremental financial increase between now and 2028. And you may not always enjoy. Every spring you're going to go, am I having fun doing this or not? But you need Venus there because she's bringing you the opportunity to make money directly related to the third house of social media and online world and writing, communicating, divining, scrying, and fortune telling, some third house things, teaching. So you need her to own that domicile of the third house with Saturn to bring money to you from those things. If you feel a little overwhelmed here, and you might because Saturn fallen and Venus exiled, right? Maybe the antidote would be to spend some eighth house time for yourself. Spend some time, going deep into your occult, magical, super paranormal woo zone. Spend some time alone, says Saturn. Aloneness will enrich and fortify you. Solitude is your ally, and it will bring you greater goodness. I notice that there's really nothing of importance here to do with a spouse, unless you're going to talk about how the spouse's money is no longer the main source of your income, or the spouse no longer wants to support you financially. Otherwise, this is really about you getting your mojo together on the money front for yourself, by yourself. Okay. Hopefully that makes some sense to some of you. And if you're single, it just means all of that without any worry about the spouse story. It's possible you could possess some money because of spousal divorce settlement, or because a spouse passes away under the sky between now and spring of 2028. And that's why it feels so hard, because it's attached to sorrow or loss. I have to be realistic. Okay, so don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I'm recording on Friday for you, and this will be out on Monday. On Sunday, the day before this, Jupiter direct video for Jupiter's going direct on the 11th, and I cover that story in Sunday's video. And I'm also talking about on Saturday, is that the real Jim Carrey? Go watch my video where I look at the astrology that suggests something really important and profound is happening in the life of Jim Carrey, whether he's even on the planet or not, if that's a body double or a clone. Go watch Saturday's drop about, is that the real Jim Carrey? It's only half an hour. It's a lot of fun. So that's what I've had just behind the Monday video. Look for Thursday's drop on Jupiter. No, Sunday's drop on Jupiter direct. And Thursday, coming up after this video, we're talking about the Pisces new moon, which I really like, on the 18th of March. We're going to cover that on Thursday's video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Lunatic astrology.